Once upon a time, in a small village nestled at the edge of a vast forest, there lived a humble woodcutter named Ethan. Ethan was known throughout the village as a man of integrity and hard work. He lived in a modest cottage with his wife and 2 children, and though they had little in the way of material wealth, they were rich in love and contentment. Every day, Ethan would rise before the sun, kiss his sleeping children on the forehead, and set off into the forest with his old, worn axe slung over his shoulder. The forest was vast and full of ancient trees, their tall trunks stretching toward the sky. Ethan knew the forest like the back of his hand, and he always treated it with the utmost respect, taking only what he needed to provide for his family. Ethan's work was hard and demanding. He would spend hours chopping wood, carefully selecting the trees that were old and ready to fall, ensuring that the forest remained healthy and vibrant. The wood he gathered would be sold in the village market, and the money he earned was just enough to keep his family fed and clothed. Despite the challenges of his work, Ethan was content. He found joy in the simple things, the sound of birdsong in the morning, the rustling of leaves in the wind, and the warmth of his family's embrace when he returned home at the end of the day. But above all, Ethan took pride in his honesty. He believed that honesty was the foundation of a good life, and he lived by this principle every day. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves turned shades of gold and red, Ethan set off into the forest as usual. The air was cool and fresh, and the forest was alive with the sounds of nature. After walking for some time, Ethan reached the edge of a sparkling, clear pond that lay hidden deep within the forest. The pond was surrounded by tall trees, their branches hanging low over the water, casting dappled shadows on the surface. Ethan decided that this was a good spot to work. He found a sturdy tree near the edge of the pond and began to chop. His axe was old but sharp, and with each swing, he felt the satisfying thud of the blade biting into the wood. The work was hard, but Ethan's strong arms and steady rhythm made the task seem almost effortless. As he worked, Ethan's thoughts drifted to his family. He imagined his children's smiles when he brought home enough wood to sell at the market. He thought of his wife's gentle touch as she prepared their simple but nourishing meals. These thoughts filled him with warmth and drove him to work even harder. But as Ethan raised his axe for another swing, something unexpected happened. His hands, slick with sweat, lost their grip on the axe handle. The axe slipped from his grasp and in a heartbeat, tumbled through the air before plunging into the pond with a loud splash. Ethan gasped and ran to the water's edge, but it was too late. The pond was deep, and the water was so clear that he could see the axe sinking slowly to the bottom, where it settled among the stones and plants. Despair washed over Ethan. His axe was his most valuable possession. Without it, he couldn't work, and without work, he couldn't provide for his family. The thought of returning home empty-handed, with no way to earn a living, filled him with sorrow. He knelt by the water's edge, his heart heavy, and whispered a prayer for help. "Oh, what will I do?" he murmured. "How will I support my family now? If only I could retrieve my axe from the bottom of this pond." As Ethan sat there lost in his thoughts, he suddenly heard a gentle voice calling his name. Startled, he looked up and saw a figure standing on the surface of the water. It was an old man with a long white beard and kind, wise eyes. He was dressed in simple robes, and his presence seemed to radiate a soft, comforting light. "Do not despair, good woodcutter," the old man said, his voice soothing and calm. "I am the guardian spirit of this forest, and I have heard your prayer. Tell me, why are you so troubled?" Ethan, still in awe of the spirit's appearance, quickly explained what had happened. He told the spirit how he had accidentally dropped his axe into the pond, and how he now feared for his family's future without it. The guardian spirit listened patiently, nodding as Ethan spoke. When Ethan finished, the spirit smiled kindly and said, "Your honesty and dedication have not gone unnoticed, Ethan. Because you have always lived a life of integrity and treated the forest with respect, I will help you." With that, the spirit raised his hand, and the water in the pond began to ripple and churn. Ethan watched in amazement as the spirit plunged his hand into the water and, with a swift motion, pulled out an axe. But this was no ordinary axe. The blade was made of pure gold, shining brightly in the morning light, and the handle was encrusted with precious gems that sparkled like stars. The golden axe was a thing of beauty, far more valuable than anything Ethan had ever seen. The spirit held out the golden axe to Ethan and asked, "Is this your axe, good woodcutter?" Ethan gazed at the golden axe, his eyes wide with wonder. But after a moment he shook his head. "No, this is not my axe," he said honestly. "My axe was old and made of simple iron. This golden axe is beautiful, but it is not mine." The spirit smiled again, his eyes twinkling with approval. "You have spoken the truth, Ethan. Your honesty is admirable." With a wave of his hand, the spirit returned the golden axe to the depths of the pond. The water rippled once more as the spirit reached down and pulled out a second axe. This one was made of silver, with a polished blade that gleamed like the moon and a handle carved from fine wood. The spirit held out the silver axe to Ethan and asked, "Is this your axe?" Again, Ethan looked at the silver axe, but he shook his head. "No, this is not my axe," he said. "My axe was old and worn, not made of silver. This axe is beautiful, but it is not mine." The spirit's smile grew wider. "Your honesty is truly remarkable, Ethan. Few would be as truthful in your situation." With another wave of his hand, the spirit returned the silver axe to the pond and once more reached into the water. This time he pulled out an old iron axe, the very same one that Ethan had dropped. The blade was dull from years of use, and the handle was worn and smooth, but to Ethan it was the most precious thing in the world. The spirit held out the iron axe and asked, "Is this your axe, Ethan?" Ethan's face lit up with relief and joy as he recognized his old axe. "Yes," he exclaimed, "this is my axe. Thank you, kind spirit, for returning it to me." The spirit nodded and handed the iron axe to Ethan. "Because you have been honest, even when faced with great temptation, I will reward you," the spirit said. "You may keep not only your iron axe but also the golden and silver axes as a token of my gratitude for your honesty." Ethan was astonished. "I cannot accept such valuable gifts," he said, humbled by the spirit's generosity. "My iron axe is all I need to continue my work and provide for my family." But the spirit insisted, saying, "These gifts are not just for you, but for your family as well. Your honesty has earned you these rewards, and I wish for you to accept them." With deep gratitude, Ethan accepted the golden and silver axes, along with his iron axe. He thanked the spirit profusely, and the spirit blessed him before vanishing into the forest, leaving Ethan alone by the pond. Ethan returned home that day with not only his iron axe but also the golden and silver axes. When he showed his family the treasures, they were amazed and overjoyed. The story of Ethan's encounter with the guardian spirit and his reward for honesty spread throughout the village, and soon everyone knew of the honest woodcutter who had been blessed by the forest spirit. With the wealth from the golden and silver axes, Ethan and his family were able to improve their lives. They repaired their old cottage, bought better tools, and even helped their neighbors who were in need. But despite their newfound wealth, Ethan remained the same humble and hard-working man he had always been. He continued to chop wood in the forest, using his old iron axe, and he never let the riches change who he was. Ethan's story became a legend in the village, passed down from generation to generation as a reminder of the value of honesty and integrity. The villagers often told their children the tale of the honest woodcutter, teaching them that being truthful and doing the right thing, even when no one is watching, will always lead to good fortune. Ethan lived the rest of his days in peace and contentment, surrounded by the love of his family and the respect of his fellow villagers. He knew that the true treasure in life was not gold or silver, but the satisfaction of living a life of honesty and integrity, and this was a lesson he shared with everyone he met. As the years passed, the forest remained as lush and vibrant as ever, its trees standing tall and proud. And deep within the forest, near the sparkling pond where Ethan had once met the guardian spirit, the legend of the honest woodcutter continued to inspire. One sunny day, a young boy named Oliver heard the story from his grandfather. Curiosity tingled in Oliver's heart as he wandered into the forest, hoping to find the spot where the legend took place. The woods whispered secrets, and the birds sang songs of old heroes. Suddenly, Oliver stumbled upon the sparkling pond, its water shimmering in the dappled sunlight. Could this be the place? He thought in awe. At that very moment, the water began to ripple, and out emerged the guardian spirit, just as in the legend. The spirit smiled warmly, recognizing the boy's pure heart. "Hello, young one," the guardian spirit said. "Are you here searching for something?" Oliver, wide-eyed and excited, replied, "I heard the story of the honest woodcutter and wanted to see the place for myself." The spirit nodded. Ethan's honesty granted him the respect and love of his village, and his story lives on through the trees and animals here.